and what initiatives we'll be focusing on based on the priorities of council, time sensitivities, and our budget. So falling under the economic development initiatives, again, first and foremost is housing. We have a couple of things that we're working on. So recently, council passed, directed staff to begin rezonings of a number of properties that we have in a land bank. So that process will begin. We hope to have that done in the next couple of months, however long it takes to go through the Planning Commission and then the number of readings and public presentations that's required through council. The second part is certainly the ADU marketing. It's time to get that underway. That bylaw has been changed. Those provisions are now a matter of right to property owners in those zonings. So we want to get that information out there to the individuals that might be interested in this, which can relieve some of the pressure on the housing crisis that we're currently facing, and improve. Allowing more people to either move around from their current living arrangements or allow new people to move to Miramichi. The second one under the incentive program, so again, kind of falls under it's more about the promotion of them and continuing to maintain them. We do have a number of applications that we're working on, whether it be property or financial incentives. It's not developing new ones. It's more or less maintaining and administering it, because it is a number of applications we've received over the past couple of years seems to be increasing, and more demand on city resources to help facilitate housing developments specifically. We will be continuing on with our community economic development initiative with Natawaganig First Nations. There's a number of different meetings that are taking place, plus we have another upcoming workshop to specifically focus on the vision for the UPM property and bringing in some outside expertise to help us not only get it in words but in pictures. Under the commercial properties file, that's really focused on the multiplex. So engineering has provided the Department of Economic Development with a site map to show what properties could be made available. Paul, our economic development officer, has begun the drafting of a expression of interest to send out to the development community to see who would be interested in working with the city of Miramichi to see this property be developed. That's step one. The other part we've done is we've commissioned a sign that's going to be appearing at the entrance to where the site is. It's just going through translation right now, and that will be installed in the coming weeks to show people driving by or going to visit where the site is, what land is available, and those resources will also be available on the Invest in Miramichi website. And finally, as we mentioned earlier, we just concluded a very significant event for the city of Miramichi. Certainly, I think the members of the community and the visiting public benefited from council's, belief and trust that this could be something really significant for the region. And again, thanks not only to Mother Nature but to the Miramichi Airport, specifically Dale Mattinson, for his amazing work that he did on Monday to clear that that second section that allows us to double the amount of vehicles that we were able to access. I was standing at the gate at 4:34 when we hit totality. Every car was parked. There was no one left on the road, and we had one or two stragglers that come in that 3-minute period, but it was two vehicles, and there were just people driving in, and they drove right out again. They were just seeing what all the buzz was. So, again, thank you to the airport. Thank you to all our other service providers. Thank you to all of the other organizers that helped make that whole week a great success. And then the second event that we're focusing on ramping up for, which take place at the end of May, is the Miramichi Striper Cup. So Friday night, a couple of changes this year. Friday night, we'll be moving from the curling club to the Miramichi Civic Center for our first time in that venue. Gives us a little bit more space, but it also allows us to co-locate with the new beer and spirit festival that's going to be taking place there. And sorry, the name of it has eluded me. Steady As She Goes Festival, I believe it's called, and that's sponsored by New Maritime. So we'll be co-located in the same location. And then, we'd like to try it too for parking. A lot of parking issues up on that Cove Road. People are parking on the side of the street. We do have some parking in the actual building at the Eco Center and across the street at French Fort Cove, but seems to be more space, so we're going to try it up there to see how it works this year. And again, that'll be May 24th, 25th, and 26th for the Miramichi Striper Cup. And secondly, I know last year there was some concern from council about the fact that the city of Miramichi was no longer going to be providing a youth division and a individual division, but the great folks at Big Rigs Tackle have started the Miramichi Striper Family Fishing Frenzy, and that's running right up until June 2nd. People can register online through Anglers Atlas, so it's similar to the contest we ran in COVID. They've got some great sponsors, great prizes. The City of Miramichi, will be supporting that through our Miramichi Striper Cup budget to try to help them. They're taking the work off of our hands. They're willing to provide that service, which is great, because I think it was something that we wanted to see continue, but we just didn't have the resources in place to do it properly. So I'm glad that the folks at Big Rigs and all their sponsors have agreed to take that on. I wish them the best of luck, and we'll offer whatever assistance we can.
Mm-hmm.
And
but he was saying he did have availability.
Councillor Johnson, your microphone's on.
And secondly, I'll move to the tourism initiatives. So, the snowstorm. The statement's gonna seem kind of strange, but winter hopefully is over. The last storm was kind of a surprise. We did see some really nice days in March and a couple of miserable ones early April, but we're beginning to update our marketing material to switch from winter promotions over to spring. So that includes our website, our print material, and also our kiosks. And so that information, you'll see that rolling over in the coming weeks. Our little stands that we have in various locations around the region. The 2024 visitor guide is in its final draft right now. It's going through translation, so we hope to have that in our possession probably by the end of the month. It's about a 3-week print job, and 12,000 copies will be delivered here. We partner with the Greater Miramichi Regional Service Commission on this particular initiative this year, so we'll be distributing to the other communities a number of copies, and then we'll do our distribution to the provincial VICs around the province of New Brunswick, and then of course having some on staff here at our own visitor information centers. Which brings me to point number 3. The staff have been selected for this year, and we'll be opening those probably near the end of June. We're going to be getting them ready, and they'll be the staff will be here to but our traffic volume really starts on that last week of June, but we do have our staff ready, and we'll be starting the cleanup and getting those centers ready, and then also doing the orientation to the students on the other experiences that they should be trying to promote while working at the VIC through some familiarization tours around the region. And as I mentioned in my monthly updates, our team did attend a trade show in Toronto, but again, one of our big ones in Atlantic Canada is Saltscapes, and that takes place, I believe it's April 17th through the 19th. It's that weekend in that range. So our team will be going down and promoting down there for that week, and that show's quite big. It usually attracts anywhere between 10 and 20,000 consumers. We're always well positioned. As soon as you walk in the door, New Brunswick has a great footprint there, and so it's a great opportunity for us to promote. And last Monday we saw a lot of folks from Nova Scotia visiting Miramichi. A lot of Nova Scotia license plates certainly coming here. So we intend to continue to promote our offerings in the summer and in the fall to that market. And the same thing with the events. I already went over those, but because this is the tourism side, Amanda and Matricia will be doing the marketing of those events and trying to have already done the Eclipse, of course, but we'll begin the marketing of this Miramichi Striper Cup. And then again, even though we're promoting spring activities, we begin to do our updates and gather the information that's required for festival events and marketing collateral for the summer, and then start planning those promotions too. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll open it to questions.
Thank you, Director McTavish. We'll open up to questions in-house or online, I guess, once we can see everybody.
Just, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman,
Councillor King, you're up.
Councilor Harris. Jeff, thanks for the report, the update, especially for economic development. And I want to thank you, Councilor Harris didn't see my light there the first time, but I just want to thank you for the thing we added to your base there. I want to thank you for that. Great job. And you're doing a great job in economic development, so keep up the great work. Good
Thank
to
you.
see. Thank you.
Councillor DePlacy? No. Mr. Mayor? No.
I'm good.
Mr. Mayor?
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Thanks, Director McTavish, for the overview of the work plan. I guess just I'm glad to hear, on the I was going to ask sort of for the details of what would be covered under the housing item, and so the blanket rezonings and the ADU marketing. I'm glad to hear that those are going to roll this quarter. On the incentive programs, and it's really under housing too. I just always like to make the point in public in our meetings like that, that more demand on the programs is actually success, because that's what the purpose of the programs is to induce and help support building the housing that we need. So I'll be presenting some of this data at the State of the City tomorrow, but effectively we're averaging about 140 new units a year now, and we need 240 to 50 if we're going to be meeting the projected demand. So, I'm glad to hear that that we're on the uptick, so to speak. And I think one thing that I would ask you guys to sort of start thinking about, and I know we'll do that as well through the Affordable Housing Working Group and with the Housing Authority, is just the changing landscape around the federal and provincial incentive programs as well, or specifically the infrastructure programs. This is evolving a bit in the last year or so, and the demand seems to be emerging as well for support from all levels of government for running the infrastructure required to unlock land to be able to develop this housing. So the water, the wastewater, the roads, and in fact the province, as you know, has put in place this new program through RDC to fund those infrastructure connections for new housing developments, but they require that the cities or municipalities be the ones who apply. And the de facto position there is that we should also be contributing. So I think we need to have a conversation about how does this sort of new component fit into what we're offering, or what are we going to do about it. So I would encourage you guys to also, we saw last week the feds announced $6 billion in new infrastructure funding, but we're still waiting for these types of housing hookups, but we're waiting for the details. So just ask you guys to keep your eyes on those things, and if you receive any information, make sure we share it with council about how we can access that $6 billion, and we'll certainly do the same. I forwarded an update to you guys from FCM this morning. All of that sort of just to sort of state it, but yeah, we'll have to think about how does that impact what we're doing on infrastructure and services. I mean, my question, I guess, is just on the commercial property side of things. So I know we had the opportunity to provide some starting input. I think it was in January or early Feb for that work, and glad to hear that Mr. McGraw continues to work on the that plan for the multiplex property and an EOI. Do you have any sense of the timeline of when that might come back? The work will come back again for another touch point or review with council before it goes out? Yeah, just curious.
It's my understanding that the department received feedback from the council. If council wants it to come back again to look over, I don't anticipate that as a problem, but we didn't really think that was necessary because we did get the feedback from council to be getting ready to send that out.
Oh, well, I guess my understanding was we gave sort of some input that would help him to develop a plan, but in his presentation to us, I thought he said he was going to bring back the plan to sort of brief us on it before it went out the door. So I would like to see that if possible, actually.
Okay, I'll work with the city manager on that to make that happen, but again, it was our understanding that we did receive the feedback from council on what they would like to see as part of that development, so that was going to begin the drafting of the expression of interest that will be sent out, but I'll make sure that before it gets sent out publicly that council has a set of eyes over it.
Yeah, thank you, Director McTavish. And I guess, do you have a sense, within the quarter when that might be coming?
At this time, I do not.
Okay.
I have asked the Economic Development Officer to begin drafting that, knowing that the map is ready. So I do anticipate sometime before the end of this month. But again, I just have to double check with him before I make that a firm commitment.
Sure, just curious. I mean, it's an exciting opportunity, and again, I think that first conversation we had wasn't really feedback. It was more just like, what would you like to see around this? And then something was going to be, Mr. McGraw had presented this slide that said, now we'll put something together and we'll bring it back. So anyway, one way or another, would like to sort of see what the plan is before it goes out to the public. But appreciate that you'll work with us on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I mean, to follow up on that, after last night's conversations too, with the economic development around this new facility, it's, maybe they even have a number back, but, we can always forecast what we can see as revenue coming back to the city, what we're going to put there, what we have for building spaces and everything like that. And it's all about revenue now with this facility, and you guys have started that process. And Paul came and presented, and I agree with the mayor on that. It's nice to get back to see where we're going to go and try to get a number back what we think we can project, because obviously it's all about money now going forward for that area. So just a couple of quick notes, Director McTavish. I don't know if this is something in your department, but we do have an incentive for vehicle chargers for electric cars for the city. MB Power has a program right now for businesses that they'll provide you with a DC fast charger at no cost, and we have an incentive also. So a great opportunity. On Monday, we had a couple of people stop in to use ours at work. There's only 5 DC fast chargers in the city, and if MB Power is willing to provide them to businesses right now free of charge, you got to apply, show the map where you are and stuff. But it might be something to get out, or even to Gail to get that out there. I think it's done April 30th. I think it is, but there's a few weeks still to apply. So anytime there's something free, if you can get a reward for that, it would be good. Great report, Jeff. The tourism part of it and the economic development. Two major events coming up tomorrow night. The Miramichi Timberwolves are in Game 4. We hope the Civic Center is packed for that, obviously, and businesses, restaurants, and everyone is full house tomorrow night, and get out and support our local team, which the city does, constantly. And also, it's the Miramichi Hurricanes will be kicking off their first season on May 5th, and I hope the city has some stuff built around that for the first ever all-women's sport team here in the city. And Jeff, I know you've come up big for that, so I appreciate it from that board also. I'm getting back. But thanks for your report. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to our last item. RC Retail Council Canada correspondence request. I think that came into the mayor. I don't know who's speaking on that, if it's Jeff or who, I'm not sure. It's up to you guys. I don't want to see a fight. So.
Yeah, I think it would be a Canadian standoff. No, you go ahead. I think that appreciate this getting on the agenda. I would say that the intention, of course, was to send this to mayor and council. It's certainly one of those letters. And there's a specific request, so that's why it comes to the table. As you can, I guess, see in the package, the request has come in from the Retail Council of Canada to have City Council review and amend is their request bylaw number 74, which relates to the hours which stores are able to be open on Sundays in our community. And they mentioned that there are now only 2 communities left in New Brunswick that have still a very restrictive set of hours that say only 12 to 5. Of course, in other communities, if the hours that are allowed are bigger than that, it doesn't mean people have to do it. Of course, it just means they can have the choice. So, I know this has been looked at a couple times in my time on council, but since a request has come in, and I understand when I got this, I wrote back and asked them if they had been in touch with the local Chamber of Commerce and what their position was as well, because that would be relevant information, as they directly represent more businesses in the community. And it's my understanding that they are writing a letter with their position to council as well. So I think it should be looked at, like any request should be looked at, and I would suggest that we do that, wait till we get the letter from the chamber, and then have it come up to a council and committee meeting for discussion with a report from Director McTavish and both letters of request.
So that's a motion, Mr. Mayor?
Motion to send it up when we receive the chamber letter, so it all comes as one package.
Can I get a seconder for that? That's on the, who's ever on the committee? No. Deputy Mayor Quinn or Councillor Johnson, you'd have to second the mayor's request on this to move it up.
Or
Thank-
Councillor.
I would do that.
Or Councillor Lacey.
I would do
sorry.
that, Councillor Harris.
Okay, so second. On the question for this motion to move up? If there's nothing, ask for approval.
And maybe, I guess,
Sure,
sorry,
no, go ahead.
Councillor, on the question, you know, I had reached out and asked for what's the position of the chamber, but if there's any other additional information that any members of council think they'd like to have, maybe we could just have, you know, speak now with that, and Director McTavish could gather that as part of the compiling of the file as well. So I don't know if there's any other info anyone would like to see as part of this.
Being on the chamber board, I know it was discussed yesterday. There is a letter coming, and I think they're going to talk to you, Mr. Mayor, about it. So I think at that time, Director McTavish will bring something back. But when there's only one city and one town left in the province that hasn't changed, it's sometimes good to look at. Maybe we should change or shouldn't. We'll let the business community decide. So if there's nothing further, I'll ask for the vote to move it up. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Thank you. So we'll move that up, and Director McTavish to bring us back a report. So seeing nothing further, I'm going to ask for an adjournment.